Hello, I suppose on live. I need a quick hello, hi, somebody, anybody. All right, okay, great. So we already have our guests now. All right, okay, perfect. Hello,
Hello, hello.
how are you, ma'am?
I'm very well.
Perfect. All right, so let me just get the
I'll
things
adjust
started.
everything as well.
Yeah,
Is that better? Yeah, that's good.
all right. All right, so we are also going to have Mr. Yangdup with us, right? And in the meanwhile, for the audiences, I'm sure you're all excited to meet Karen ma'am over here. I'm so glad that I have this wonderful opportunity to even introduce you. So
Thank you.
I'm
Hold on,
already
I'm gonna.
excited about that.
My dog has come in. I'm gonna just close the door. Hold on.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, she hears these voices and she thinks there's something going on that she should be part of.
Oh,
Okay.
that's so sweet.
Yes, jumps on
That's
my lap.
absolutely
Yes.
fine. Even I have a dog at home, and he's consistently looking at me as if there's something, yeah, that I'm talking to
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So she comes in, she has a look, and then she gets very worried because I haven't done lives for a few months now, and she thinks there's
Oh,
something going on, something exciting.
all right,
Then she sees
all right.
nothing exciting, and she goes back out.
Oh, so sweet. All
Yeah,
right, so let me at least introduce you. Let me try introducing you because there's so much I have to share, isn't it?
yeah, because
So
I'm old now, so I've done a lot. That's the problem.
I know, I know. It's amazing, isn't it, that we have Karen ma'am over here, the pioneer of the gourmet food in India. I'm sure that we all are aware of all the things that she does, ideally. There's very little that I can share, as ye bada hai, ye bada hai. But then she's just done it all, isn't it? So let me tell you one more thing that yes, she has been a chef, she's been a food critic, she's been an entrepreneur. She's literally tried her hands at the farmers market, the famous farmers market in
Yeah.
Pune that I just can't miss. I have been following you, ma'am, and it's such a pleasure that I'm seeing you here right now. And, and of course, I'm an advisor for, I think, Earth's Wine, like some time ago, and
Yeah, yeah.
there are a
I've
lot of
worked in wine. Yeah, I've actually worked with a lot of companies. Because of my kind of straddling two continents. I've worked with companies
right,
into India who wanted to understand the Indian market. So I've worked with wineries.
correct,
I'm not a
right,
chef. I must tell you, I don't consider myself a chef um,
uh-huh,
because I haven't been through the rigmarole of, a catering college and hospitality
sure,
and
sure,
10 years in a kitchen, which is rough. I haven't done
uh-huh,
that. But I would say
okay,
I'm a good cook.
uh-huh,
I plan menus. I put projects together. And in fact,
yes,
in my new project, which is in London, I'm doing much more than food.
yes,
So yeah, I look
right.
after all sorts of things, concept and
So
story
there
and
are there are
personal
already, I think,
projects.
two,
Yeah,
three projects, right, ma'am? I
yeah,
mean, there are two,
yeah.
three projects
I know
that you already
I
have.
don't really do design and architecture and all
Yes,
of that, but
wow,
I contribute to that. But I look
amazing.
after food. I also look after this whole, having run my own business where we have to be multi-talented till it gets
Of
to a
course.
point where then you can hire people. So you've kind of,
Correct.
by my age and stage, you kind of trained yourself to, and also learn from other people, how to do a little bit of marketing, how to do a little bit of PR,
Right.
um,
Right.
even a little bit of design, if creativity is your thing, um,
Right.
how to write a press release, how to look at a
Oh my
website.
God, that's
Yeah,
tremendous.
lots of things. Well, you have to do at the beginning because you can't afford to hire
Correct.
10 people. So, and then that sort of puts you in a position where even when you get to the point of hiring those people, at least
Sure.
you make decisions that are informed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I totally understand, because when it comes to making simple decisions like whether I go ahead and agree with this person, or whether I go ahead and agree with this particular vendor, I mean, there are so many things that you have to keep, your eyes on. And
Oh,
also, I mean, yeah,
if you've had that experience yourself,
sure,
at least you can make an informed decision.
absolutely. Perfect. So, since we are talking, and okay, so I see that we have Mr. Yangdup also join us. Let me just quickly check. Yes. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
How
Hi.
are you? Okay,
I
there
am
he
very
is.
good.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Right. So let me just, for the sake of our viewers, because both of you are such wonderful guests that we have today, that most of the viewers definitely know you, right? However, just to do my little bit, let me introduce Mr. Yangdup Lama. I mean, a spirited monk that all we know him as, right? And he's been in this field for eternity, where we talk about bartending, we talk about, yeah, spirits, and he is like the man who knows it all about cocktails, about, just about everything when it comes to the amazing drink that one looks out for, isn't it?
I think so. I'm not too sure.
Oh my God. Lovely.
But
Okay.
wonderful being here. It's really nice.
Oh,
And hello, Miss Anand. It's wonderful to see you
Hi,
there as
hi.
well.
You're a legend in the mixology field, so I've heard of you too.
right. So since we are here for certain questions that I've been receiving from a lot of viewers, that when it comes to the traditional or the normal career that one needs to make a choice about, people generally go in with, banking, or maybe typically with engineering, medicine, practicing something which is age old and people are clear about, right? And it's something that people are sure about, that, ye career mein paisa kamaega, right? So this is like uh, a go-to, a trump card sort of. However, when it comes to the two of you, back in those days, I mean, at least 25 years ago, maybe you must have started, right? 25? Yeah?
I
Yes,
started
20,
yes.
long
25
ago.
25.
years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you made
Yeah.
your choices, which is tremendous. And I think a lot of people still struggle to make that strong decision. So I was just speaking to Karen ma'am, that, when it comes to making simple decisions, she's talking about something way ahead now, where, connecting with press and, doing all these things is something that she's now looking into. However, back in those days when you had to make that choice to, getting into a particular field, because that was something that was told, isn't it? Like a typical traditional expectation by the parents from the children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you manage to, uh, yeah, make this decision to get into the fields that you have picked for yourself?
I don't know, Miss Anand, would you like to take that
Me to go
first?
ahead.
Yes, please, please.
Maybe I was brought up abroad where maybe it wasn't so stringent. I think Indian
Yes.
parents, one, good, bad, or ugly, are much tougher on boys than they are on girls. Number one. Number two, I was told that it would be great to have a career. I did well at school, and therefore, yes, an academic career is always. I loved
Yes.
art, but I was told by my art teacher, don't pursue art because there's so much competition out there. Now, this
Oh,
is something which I feel this expression, there is so much competition out there, is very
right.
strange because I feel if you are good at something and
Sure.
if you put your passion behind that, whatever you're good at, you will be the best at it. If you are
Absolutely.
half-hearted behind medicine or whatever you want to, you're pushed into any academic career, if it's
Right.
half-heartedly done, you're not going to be a success. So, when
True.
people talk about success and failure, I don't think it's about choice. So if you are good at what you do, if you are happy doing what you do, you will
Right.
be really good at it, you know. And if you've got that extra something, of course, you will be the best. But
Right.
you stand, I feel, you stand a chance at success because everybody wants success, right? At the end of the day, that's what we're talking
Absolutely.
about. So success is
Absolutely.
what? Success is being good at what you do, so you get confident, you earn
Right.
money out of it, so you can make a career out of it. That's what success is. So if you love what you do, you're more likely to be a success than
Right.
if you join a profession which you're not so happy about, you're doing it
Right.
for the money or for the pressure or whatever. I feel you'll never be a total success in something
Right.
that you don't love doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like going with the flow, right? I mean, a lot of people are doing it around me, so maybe, I should also go there. Maybe because my friends are there, so
Yeah,
I should be there.
a lot of the time it's parental pressure. So
Right.
it's tough. I think food and beverage, though, today, I think is very acceptable. Food and
Yes.
beverage 30
Yes,
years ago
indeed.
was not so
Indeed.
acceptable. So
Absolutely.
I mean, if someone said I was going to be a cook or a chef, and my mother didn't talk to me for a few years till she actually saw what I did, because she said,
Oh,
you've done all these degrees and blah blah to what? To go back to India and cook? She thought it was completely stupid. Then she came and she saw
yeah.
what I was doing. It was creative, and I was creating sort of, all sorts of things.
Sure.
And she saw it was really interesting. It was my own business. It's different, but it's a lot of pressure. But today, just to finish, and I know you have a lot to say. Um, uh, Today, it's not just about being a chef. I keep
Hmm.
telling some people this. You can do food
Exactly.
styling, you can do food photography, and you can
Correct.
make a great career out of it. You can be a food
Absolutely.
writer. Food writer is more difficult because you need experience. But food
Correct.
photography, food technology, food technologists earn a decent amount of money nowadays. So food
Correct.
technology on the science side, on the creative side, photography, styling. There's lots and lots of careers in food, not just being a chef.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, sir? What was your experience like?
No, it's whatever Miss Anand said is exactly and absolutely true. I think in my case, when you look at bartending today, it's very different. But when you looked at it 25 years ago, I was a
Yes.
hotelier. So you're out of hotel school, you want to be a hotelier. You joined food and
Right.
beverage service at the age of 22, thinking that you will make a quick buck so that you can enjoy life. My pure reason for joining food and beverage service and not production was I was good at cooking, but I was keen to do the service bit of it because I just thought that if I join the production bit, then you just are dependent on your salary, and I just wanted to enjoy
Mm.
life. I was a very average student, and I was a little naughty as well. But there was no idea or there was no thought in my mind to become a bartender. So that was more of a discovery in the space of food and beverage service, right? So incidentally, I was sent to the bar. I didn't even
Oh.
know that I was supposed to work in the bar. I just joined the hotel, and interestingly, there were 20 of us who joined the hotel. And luckily for me, I didn't join on the day I was supposed to join. I joined 2 weeks later, and I was the only guy when I joined. So the balance 19 were all sent to banquets. I was sent to the bar. So in a way, it was also pure. I think that was,
I think that's
pure
yes,
pure luck
right,
for me. But
right.
even at the bar, I was put at the back area. My responsibility was to pick up food from different kitchens for all the orders
Okay,
that was happening in the front. I was responsible for all the backup to the bar, so cleaning of the
correct.
glasses, the stacking of booze, all of that was my responsibility. But I think
Okay.
after 1.5 months of doing that is when I actually got to see what happens in the front of the bar. And
Mm.
honestly speaking, for the first 3 months, I was just happy being a typical food and beverage service guy. It was also the inspiration of the guy who was behind the bar in 1995, right? So there was
Mm-hmm.
the one gentleman who was like the hero of the bar, and although he was also just a captain at the bar, the interesting
Okay.
thing was that he was somebody who was the driving force of every one of us who was there in the bar at that point in time. And the kind of aura that he had, the speed, the style that he had, was something that kind of always drew my attention towards him. So he became like my
Wow.
my mentor, my hero, right? And one
Wow.
fine day, I walked up to him at 2 o'clock when we were shutting the bar, and I said, "Look, I want to be a bartender." And he said, "बहुत मेहनत करने पड़ेगा." I said, "No problem. I have no friends here." Then that's how it all started. And one thing that struck me and remained in my head was when he said that if you're in the food and beverage department in the hotel as of today, you should be in the bar, because in the bar, the interesting thing is that's your small little kingdom and you are the king. Nobody really
Correct.
comes or dares to get inside the bar and ask you to do things in the correct way, because what happens, especially in food and beverages, you have your seniors
Wow.
all moving around checking on you.
Yes.
That's how I
Yes.
got into it, right? Again, there was no designation of a bartender. Even when I left hotels and went on my own, it was just about, it was, I think, sheer discovery that I didn't even think
Right.
that I would always continue to do bartending. But the fact that I was always behind the bar, those 4.5 years in my hotel days, and the fact that there was some amount of recognition that happened through HNFS at that time, and then later on 30 under 30. So those recognition gave me that whole confidence that yes, bartending could be my calling, and
Correct.
uh, and that's how I actually left hotels and wanted to be a freelance bartender,
Amazing.
right? But there wasn't a clear path. So I did not have a clear vision in terms of where I wanted to go in the space of
Mm-hmm.
bartending. But as we
Correct.
progressed, what happened is it was sheer discovery. So,
Mm-hmm.
like Karen ma'am just mentioned about how you could discover the journey of food, not just about cooking,
Mm-hmm.
but how you could explore the whole idea of food as you
Right.
progress, right? Your journey could lead you to new discoveries. That is exactly
Right.
what happened in the field of bartending or beverages. I
Okay.
started working with liquor brands, because
Wow.
there was great amount of scope there to work with spirit companies, which required professional help from bartenders like me. Then
Wow.
there was also tremendous scope to create a specialized training in bartending. So, running of the bar school, whether it
Mm-hmm.
was working with liquor brands.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what has happened in the last 25 years, also in the near future, what's going to happen is we as humans keep on evolving, right? So even from a
Right.
customer perspective, even the consumers. I still remember I was just writing an answer to a question a while back, and there was this question saying, "What is the most annoying order that bartenders usually get behind the bar?" And it just struck my head. I said, when I started off very early on, the order of a whiskey with half soda and half water was something that annoyed me all through. But gone are those days. Now, even the consumer who was drinking a whiskey with half soda and half water does not exist anymore. So the consumers have evolved. The recognition and realization that
Right.
bartending is an art. I think not just the
Mm-hmm.
industry but also the consumers, people who come to the bar now have a lot of respect for the
Right.
artist behind the bar, right? So
Correct.
what has happened is it's also become the food and beverage trade is not just about food and beverage. It's also an experience by itself, right? And
True.
you can use various means to lend that
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Right.
Again, the same question from this magazine, which said, what is the latest trend in the last 1.5 years, especially in the bar business? I said social media
Yes.
and
Right.
virtual presentation, right? It's become so
Right.
important that if you're good in your presentation to the virtual media, you could still be a prominent figure, right? So there are
Correct.
various ways, and I think in every field, whether it's food and beverage, or for that matter, any profession, I think, like ma'am said, the idea is to be able to enjoy what you're doing, most importantly,
Correct.
and give it your best shot, right? And I think
Absolutely.
discovery and growth is bound to happen.
It's amazing how you just mentioned that it was sort of your luck that you realized, or maybe you were put into that particular field. I mean, it was as though like a sweet accident, isn't it? Where you
Right.
where you were able to discover your passion. Maybe this is something that I also heard on some other platform where I was listening to your talk. Yes, yes, Karen.
No, no, I've got someone at the door. 2 seconds, I'm coming back.
Sure, 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 no problem.
Yeah.
So in
So
the
I
meanwhile, yes, I'm
Yeah, so
sorry.
I always say this, whenever somebody asks me how did you become a bartender, I always say I've been an accidental bartender because it was not bartender by choice. But at the end of the day, luck is very important. So you need to have a little bit of luck as well. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
when you head towards the right direction with all your heart and your mind, luck will
true,
also favor you. So I think it's
true,
everything goes hand in hand. Your discovery of your journey,
correct,
uh,
correct.
not just about cooking food or making a drink behind the bar.
True.
All of that discovery will will take you to the next level if you have your
Absolutely,
heart and mind into what you're doing.
absolutely, absolutely. I also saw you on TEDx, a
Uh-huh.
few days ago, where
Hmm.
it was so inspirational the way you mentioned your experiences over there. So that brings me to the next question to a few, where for example, the experiences that we have growing up, in the field that we chosen. Um, I'm sure that it's not a very easy process where you actually get into. So, for example, Karen, ma'am, you got into writing, which was not something I saw back then. As a very what do you say, a typical profession, or not many food writers
No,
were
there
actually
was
there.
actually no. When I started maybe in the mid '80s. I'd come back.
Yes,
I'd come back from London, and there was nobody. Of course, there were people in London writing about food, and it was
right.
quite a. But here, it wasn't really. You're right. Actually, there were no food writers.
Yeah, there was no
There
one.
were chefs. There were
Yes,
chefs and chefs. I love them all, but they're not writers. They're
right,
chefs, and when they come to writing, they usually
right,
fall flat on
right.
their face. They can't even write recipes. Let me be very frank. I deal with chefs every day. I deal with chefs for my business. They can't even write recipes properly. They put things in ingredients that are not in the. Sorry, but true. They put things in the method that they don't. So I am actually probably a writer by profession. I
Right.
did a very solid academic degree. So I knew how to write,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
writing came quite easily to me. So when it came to write on food, the
Mm.
advantage I had was at the beginning that I'd come from another continent. So because I'd come from another continent, I had that exposure, so that was one. Then
Right.
I came to India. It's like anything. I'm sure you
Right.
have that, Lama, as well. When you come to something new, you see it with another pair of eyes. Someone who's been in that for a long time
Exactly.
doesn't necessarily see it. So I came back to India and saw India in a different light,
Mm.
which was great. And I started, Anil Dhaka, rest his soul, passed away quite recently, but he was
Yeah.
my first editor. And
Oh,
he said, yeah, let's do a food column. It was a girly magazine called Debonair. And I don't
okay.
know if you remember Debonair. And I used to go, and I remember I used to go to Dom Marias and pick up his column, and I was interning with him. And Dom was great. And Dom would say, are you in the magazine or are you writing in the magazine? So it was very fun. It was this girly. It was the first Indian girly
Right.
magazine.
Right.
Wasn't very risque, but it was risque for its time.
Of
So
course.
I did a food column there. Then I had
Right.
a wonderful editor called Dina Vakil, friend of a friend, who
Yes.
picked up the phone and said, Karen, I've seen your column there. Will you do something for Express? So I started
Mm.
writing for Express. Then
Mm.
Bachi Karkari, I think it was, who said, look, I'm
Wow.
new editor of The Independent. Can you do something? So it was one after the other, and then I got a bit
Correct.
bigger. Then I did, I think, The Independent for about, it was called Bon Vivant, it was about a travel column, and I was newly married then and traveling a
Mm-hmm.
lot around the world. So
Okay.
I had a
Right.
lot to write about, you know. I had content all the time.
Right.
So this was the early days of content. You know, this was no social media,
Exactly.
remember. This was no
Exactly.
mobiles. And
That's
people
that's
used to
that's
read.
exactly why. Yes, that's
People read.
exactly why I wanted to know.
People read
Right.
papers, and yeah, we had no other form of communicating. And so
Exactly.
then independent became it closed up, I think, after 3 or 4 or 5 years, and
Okay.
Bombay Times took over, but it was the same
Mm.
time group. And then I was under
Good.
Malvika Sangvi there. Malvika said, look, let's do,
Yes.
I think we did a men can cook column, because I was doing kind of men can cook
Right.
events for. Then I had people coming to me, like beer
Seems
companies and
like a
wine companies,
revolution.
saying,
Seems like a revolution, isn't it?
yeah, let's do events out of these columns, and so we started doing events, and it was just, what you find what you're good at and you do them. But primarily, yes, I'm a writer,
Mm-hmm.
more than, and I found food the vehicle, if you like,
Hmm.
of my writing.
Wow. But so I have a very basic question then in that case, Karen,
Yeah,
because see, I do understand you had and you still have the flair to write exquisite write-ups. I've read it myself, so I'm a huge fan. When it comes to reading up all those beautiful write-ups that you have. So my question here is that when it comes to approaching people, were you the one approaching people? How was it? I mean, was it like they came to
right.
you, or you had to approach people to get
My my
into?
my situation was different, sweetie, because I started this very early and there was nothing happening. So,
Mhm.
you know, Anil Daka, for example, said to me, I like what you write. I was doing some little bit of writing in the magazine, but let's write on food. So nobody had
Right.
really written on food. And maybe, no one is really original. Maybe
Hmm.
I'd seen things abroad, I'd heard, and then I put it to what I was experiencing. But in
Sure.
those days, I don't remember, honestly. I don't think I pitched. I think because I was quite shy and I was quite not into the career thing. So I think I
Oh,
was asked, and then I did, and then somebody else saw my work and said, would you like to do something? And then we would sit in Dina Vakil's office or Bachi's office or whatever, and we'd chat, and up came a column. It was done in a very casual way.
right.
I posted
Okay.
something the other day about, cover of magazines. And when I did my
Hmm.
sample
Hmm.
bar a little bit later,
Hmm.
somebody came up to me and said, oh, how did you get on the cover of a magazine? They called me
Wow.
and they said, can we do a cover of you? Nowadays you need a bloody PR agent to do that,
Yes,
and a
exactly.
PR and a PR agent with a lot of influence to do that. But
Right.
in those days, I call them cowboy days. They were cowboy days. We just sort of did stuff and people talked to you and then they became friends and you had a glass of
Correct.
wine together or coffee together and a column
Correct.
came. And if they saw, of course, you had to prove your worth. And if they saw
Right.
that people read the column and they were getting feedback, and then they would give you, then something else would come along. So truly, I didn't pitch anything. I didn't go for this is going to
Okay.
be my career, at
Right,
all.
right. With a file or a folder in hand that, hey, you know what, this is what I've done. So the
No,
reason
never.
why, yes, exactly. So the idea that I'm trying to gain here is because we do have a lot of aspiring bloggers, or maybe there are a few people who are good at it. Maybe they are good at writing, but they're not sure how to go about it. So
Can
when
I
it
tell you
comes
quickly,
to,
because
yes,
I
sure,
know we want to hear about beverage as well. I have a
yes,
thing about blogging, and I think
mm-hmm,
that there are good and bad of social media. This is one of the marvelous things about social media. We can have
yeah,
these marvelous discussions, okay? The
Yeah.
bad thing about social media and blogging and all that is anybody, any idiot can get up there and start a blog. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I'm old enough
Yeah.
to be transparent.
No,
Anybody
that's
can get
correct.
out there and
That's
blog,
that's
right?
right.
Now, depending on whether they have followers. A lot of the
Yeah.
people, or some of the people who blog,
Yeah.
have sensational content. Because they have sensational content, they get followers.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
because they're saying anything that means anything. Because
Yeah.
they're saying something a bit sensational, or the girl is going around in a bikini on the beach, or whatever.
Yeah.
Are, are we actually listening to what she's saying? I don't know. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying,
I can understand. Yes.
no one saw my face when I was writing. I wrote. They knew from that little picture. That's it. So you
Mm,
got a very real feedback. Now,
correct.
with blogging, as I said, anyone can blog. There are
Yeah.
bloggers who do. I'm talking about food blogging. Okay,
Yeah.
there are food bloggers who do recipes very well, no problem. They're talking
Right.
about their own experience. Got it.
Sure.
It doesn't mean it's finite. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
it's the end of all stories. It means it's their experience. And people forget that.
Mm.
People tell me, don't do recipes because there's so many on the net. There's so many on the net, but most of them are rubbish. Anybody,
Hmm.
right? If I look for a recipe for, I don't know, I was looking the other day for something. There are 20 people doing a recipe for, a Bengali doodh march or something.
Yes.
Most of them, and they're all different. Why are they different? Because
Yeah.
everybody's got their point of view. So it's a tough one. And with blogging, I
Yes.
find in particular, especially as with bartending, when you need experience. You need
Yes.
it. It's not something which you cannot do it after 6 months of blogging. You know,
Right.
you need
Right.
experience. You need to be able to say, I had this particular dish or I had this particular drink and it contains X, Y, Z. Okay, we didn't have Google, by the way. So,
Yes.
correct? If you
True.
want to find out what a
Even
Singapore
to
sling
find,
is, you
yes.
can go on Google, right? And you can go on Raffles and find out about the Singapore sling. We didn't have that. We had to ring someone in Singapore or ring Raffles or email somebody and say, what is this? It took a lot of hard work. Now
Of
it
course.
takes 5 minutes, not even, to
Yeah.
find out the correct answer. Then, what makes an interesting story? You talk about the Singapore thing. You talk about when I went to Singapore and I sat in Raffles and I had the Singapore
Right.
sling and what I felt and what it meant to me and what was
Right.
around. The peanuts on the peanut shells on the floor and maybe Hemingway sat there. And so you make a story out of it.
Story.
How
Yes.
do you make
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
story when you're sitting
True.
in a flat in wherever? It's nothing wrong with that. You have not
Mhm.
had the experience, at all, except going on the net. How do you make a story out of that Singapore thing? You tell me. You can't. You can't make a credible story. So there's all this rubbish being written. That's why I'm saying I find, and then they have to make the sensation about it, and lots of
Yes.
technical things, and
Yeah.
but have they got anything to say about this thing? Like, for
And
example,
nowadays there's a poll for everything. You have to take a poll for everything.
now, for example, my famous bartender will tell you, he can talk about the Singapore sling. He can talk about maybe giving it to one famous person who said, let's change it or whatever. He
Sure.
has a wealth of experience in this field. I have a wealth
Right.
of experience in mine. And then you have to be able to put it down. Either you write
Right.
it or somebody else writes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're a blogger, I understand the freshness. I understand all of that. I
Right.
don't understand sometimes the entitlement. And I have a very strong opinion about this. But, just sort of writing for the sake of writing without any humility,
Sure.
I'm not sure how this is, but this is what I thought of it.
Right.
I thought it was this kind of dish. And I tried it myself. And I'm not sure if I like it. But maybe I didn't make the correct one, maybe.
Yes.
I find it very strange. This is what I find strange about now. This
No,
whole
you're right.
blogging.
You're right. This is what happens. And this is probably going to remain, as a fact of the matter, because the idea is that the way we make a particular fish curry, maybe a typical Bengali fish curry that you mentioned. I'm a half Bengali, so I can relate to this. Where a fish curry recipe, if you look for a Bengali fish curry recipe, it's different in all parts of even in
No, so
India.
listen, there is one recipe for doodh mach. It's not very
Yes,
difficult. There's one recipe. And you
yeah,
ask any Bengali, they will tell you the same thing. It's got
right.
panchfuram in it, it's got doodh in it, and it's got something else. That's it. It's got
Yeah,
basically panchfuram and doodh and
passport. Yeah,
mustard oil, and that's it. Now, if
yeah,
you look, I'm giving you I'm giving you an example, but it could be something
yeah.
else. But you'll find people 20 different recipes because they tell you
Correct.
a number. You know, I'm not saying it has to be authentic or it has to be traditional. I'm just saying
Sure.
that a lot of people who write today do
Mm-hmm.
not come from a place of experience. It's like, for example, you talk to a chef, and a
Yeah.
lot of my senior chef friends get very irritated because they've worked in the industry 10, 15, 20 years. And it took them
Hmm.
10, 15 years to be able to call themselves a chef.
Yes.
And yet there are young boys who've done 3 years in college,
Got that. Yes.
2 years in a restaurant, and all of a sudden they're chefs.
Yeah, they're chefs.
You
Yes.
know? No, they're not
In
chefs.
fact, there are some even fancier terms that are used of late. Yeah, so I can understand
Like
because
what?
it's hardly 2 years and people really want to go next level, isn't it? So, so this is what happens. You're
Yeah.
right. So, I have this very interesting question now for you, sir, because I was checking a few questions with a few friends and their children also.
Mhm.
Now, this was a strange conversation which I need to tell you. The conversation was, yeah,
Right.
seriously, because the conversation, and just imagine we are in this era where you don't really get into gender bias anymore. Honestly speaking,
Mhm.
the generation today would
Mhm.
not appreciate it. However, this was a conversation going on where the girl was pretty interested, and I think she's here right now watching this, live as well. She actually asked her parents that if she is going for hotel management, the course, she wants to get into bartending and she wants to learn it. She wants to own one place one, someday. So this is her dream. Now,
Mhm.
her parents were a little taken aback, where really, seriously, are you sure? You want to get into this field? Are you sure? Do you know any girl doing this at all? Now, this this conversation itself was pretty interesting for me because uh, they were pretty clear that it's all the men who get into this, yeah, field. What about a girl? What is it that you would say over here then?
You know,
What's your take?
it's a question that keeps coming all the time, especially when it comes to profession.
Yes,
Sorry, bartending as
yes,
a profession, and can women become bartenders? I think women
yeah,
make excellent bartenders. We can,
yeah.
whatever men can do, women can always do, right?
Of
And
course.
they can excel in it. So there's no
Yes.
doubt about it. It's just that what happens is, I think it's lack of exposure. And I'll be very
Mm-hmm.
honest. When I came and did my hotel management in Calcutta and then came on to Delhi, my parents did not know what I was doing, because we come from a simple, small little place in the district of Darjeeling. They all understood that I'd done my hotel management, so I must be doing something in the hotel, but they didn't have any idea that I was a bartender until the
Oh,
third year, when I actually went back home with a nice, interesting bottle of whiskey and told my dad that this is what I'm doing. And he felt good about it because, first and foremost, he got a beautiful gift. Secondly, he knew that he was not sending me money anymore. So he knew that I
oh,
was doing things where I could survive on my own. So
sure.
coming to women, there was this list just came out. It's a global list by Drinks International 4 days ago, and it had
Mm-hmm.
100 influential people in the beverage industry. And I
Wow.
think almost more than 50 were women. And it is topped. The first women in the sorry, the first person in the list is a woman, right?
Oh,
And we have two from India, and the second one is there, very much present in this particular live, who is very much there. So What I'm saying is that there is nothing called not possible. I think it is sheer lack of exposure. I think if the child
Well,
sits
may
with the
I
parents
interrupt
and
this?
make them understand.
One more thing about women in bartending, as there is about
Yes.
women as chefs. It's nothing to do with their capability. It's also
Right.
practicality of a lot of husbands, boyfriends, fathers, father-in-laws don't
Yes.
like women to work in a bar. Number one, is
Ah.
that not correct? Or
Right,
Yeah.
a
totally.
restaurant. They feel it's a position of service, and they don't
Yeah.
want them to be hassled by
Sure.
Yeah.
men at a bar.
But yeah.
Secondly, a bar job entails working at night,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
a lot of girls are not comfortable working at night because very practical reason. How do they get home? And if
Hmm.
the company does not provide transport for these girls,
Wow.
you
Yes.
know,
True.
physically, how, I'm sorry to be biased, but Delhi, for example, and I've had students of mine saying that they are, unless the company provides transport home,
Yes.
accompanied by a driver or something, they're not willing to even get down the street of starting bartending because, by virtue
Right.
of the fact it is a bar, and a bar is somewhere you go at
Mm-hmm.
night. So,
Yeah.
it's not something you do in the day. And that's why a lot of girls get into cafes, they get into
Mm-hmm.
baking, they get into
Yes.
patisserie, because these are things you can do early morning and during the day, and you're not
Sure.
staying late at night. So a lot of the
Yeah.
time, from my experience, it's been purely practical.
No,
Yeah.
I'll cite you another example. What happened is, before I even cite that example, let me tell you, my partner in the bar business is a woman. She's 10
Oh,
years junior to me in the industry, and she's my partner. She's driving the bar business as a young woman. So that's one
wow.
of the finest examples. And she comes from
Yeah.
a simple middle
But
class family.
yeah, but she's a
Uh,
but she
Wow.
does she doesn't necessarily stand behind the bar at night.
She does. So initially, for the first 3 years, she bartended with me literally in weddings,
Wow.
starting from 6 in the evening
Okay.
till 6 in the morning, right? So what I'm
Wow.
trying to say is, where do we go wrong is, and I'll cite this example because this is
Mm-hmm.
something that I did last year. There was a young
Amazing.
girl whose parents are journalists.
Okay.
They write for a Hindi daily, and their daughter suddenly, out of the blues, decided to do hotel management, and now she wants to become a distiller because while she was doing her training in one of the hotels in Hyderabad, is when she discovered that alcohol is a calling. So she loves the fact that cocktails are beautiful, and she somehow
Yeah.
figured out that she could learn the art of distilling. Parents got confused. Through another
Right.
journalist friend of mine, they got in touch with me and they said, could we get 2 hours of yours because we need to come and sit with you with our daughter and understand what it entails. They came and sat with me,
Yeah.
and I think by the end of it, I think it is all about how I explain it to them. I just because they were worried, they were worried for the daughter being young, just 22-year
Mm.
old girl. They were
Right.
worried that whether this is something that she should pursue because
Mm.
their understanding and the exposure was limited. So I
Yeah.
think it's very important also for a lot of us to be able to explain it and explain it correctly, and
Yeah.
for every
True.
profession, there are the advantages and the disadvantages, right? So it's
Sure.
important to put it forward even to the student as well as to the parents and tell them,
Mm.
explain it to them, right? Also, in today's date, there's so much of information, there's so much of exposure that is available through different medium, right? It is very important to be able to get all of that exposure. And like I run a bartending school. A lot of times parents call me and say, look, my daughter wants to be a bartender, my son wants to be a bartender. And it's normal for parents to be worried about their children and the
Right.
future of their children, right? But my responsibility as a senior bartender, my responsibility as a trainer is not just about teaching somebody the art of bartending. It's also about being able to represent my trade in a more practical manner and explain
Yeah.
it in a much more better manner to the consumer, because like it's like somebody who's always had whiskey and comes to the bar and once says, what is so different about this bar? That's where
Right.
my role of a bartender comes into being. My idea is
Mm.
to take him beyond the experience of whiskey and soda. It's the same thing. When I come across a parent, or when I'm talking to somebody, it's how well I explain. Number one, number two, tell them the advantages and the disadvantages. There are a lot of advantages and disadvantages. It is a tough job.
Right.
It requires
Right.
odd timings. But again, if the child wants to do it, if the child has the right understanding, a lot of times what happens is you only see the glamour bit of it, and therefore you want to do it,
Yes.
right?
It's a lot of
Yes.
hard
So
work. It's a
yeah, so
lot
it
of
is
hard work.
also, yeah, so it's important to bring both these facts together to the student as
Right.
well as to the parents, and then let
Sure.
them take a call. And I think if, for this particular girl who wanted to be a distiller, I think the parents was
Yes.
convinced that by the end of it, they said, great, I think my daughter has a dream and I would love to back her up. I think that was the biggest satisfaction for me, because here are those two parents who have never had any kind of an exposure to alcohol, whether it's consuming
Okay.
or bars.
Right.
And here they are, backing up their daughter who wants to do learn the art of distilling in a institute in Canada, right? And they said, we'll put all the trust and we want her to pursue her dreams, right?
Wow.
Because when I spoke to the girl in front of the parents, she had done enough research and it was very, very
Okay.
clear that she wanted to be a distiller.
Yeah.
So I myself, when I spoke to her 2 hours, is when I was very convinced that she knows the pros and the cons, and therefore this is taken a conscious choice, right? Now that is
Right.
okay. So it is
Right.
important for us to bring forward the right facts, explain it to them really well, and
Mm-hmm.
as people who are in that space already for a certain amount of
Right.
years, it's
Right.
important for us to be able to represent the same in a much more meaningful manner. That's very important,
Right.
right? So
Right.
there is a lot of responsibility that lies in us as well, not just the
Of
parents,
course.
for
Of course.
because we're all there in that space. It's also how we
Yeah.
change as people who have spent, and that is one way of giving back to the trade or the industry that has given us so much.
Sure. Absolutely. I think you just made a very good point where it's not just about the glamour that a person should ideally, look out for and walk into that particular field. It's also a lot of hard work which needs to be researched before getting into it, which is quite important, because a lot of people nowadays want fast buck, and they want to get into a field where it's a lot of glam sham, and people want to be a part of a particular field where they are able to sit with some elite people around them. However, to get there, even to face the people or maybe be a part of the front end, you need to first of all achieve something in life where it's all hard work, and then you're able to go there. So then the point is, because I mean I've seen the two of you have diversified, in your respective fields. It's not like you restricted yourself to one particular aspect where you've just been into writing, or you've just been into what do you say, getting into a talk with people, or you've not just restricted yourself to one particular aspect. You've diversified. You've started with different kinds of businesses. Now, to even get into that thought, first of all, is something that one needs to have the courage for. So I already understand from the previous conversations that both of you, first of all, are extremely strong-willed and pretty confident about where you want to go, which is the first thing that I think our viewers need to understand, that you need to have that strong will, right? Where you are clear about what exactly I need to do. Because even to convince your parents about what you've decided is something to begin with. But the next step is when you start diversifying, because I've seen a lot of newbies who are starting afresh. However, they're starting with a startup, and a lot of people, a lot of youngsters have this ambition of getting into a startup, and without any knowledge. Now, this is quite interesting, because without any knowledge about the food industry, in fact, they don't even know much about it. However, I know some people who want to get into this field, whether it's food and beverage, or it's simply, getting into this industry because, it's fun, it's nice to have my own place, it looks nice. Yeah. Vis-a-vis, how do you get into that? what are your
How
thoughts?
do you
Because
get
yes,
into a startup, you're saying?
yeah. So
Well,
this
I
startup,
don't think, look, there are lots of startups. Some are food,
yes,
some are IT, some are, and I think the glamour is that there's money out there for startups.
yeah, yeah,
People
yeah,
get excited because there is
correct.
money. However, startups, people who invest are not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They first have to have a great idea, and then
Sure.
they do see your business plan. It's not that they don't. As I said, when I started out, which was in the 80s and early 90s, nobody had a business plan. We just did things by opportunity and by, and it sort of snowballed. Today, you do need a solid business plan. You need a solid
Yes,
idea. You need
yes,
some money at the back. It's not like you're going to get money from the beginning. You need to
correct.
usually do a proof of concept. And that proof of concept comes with your own money. And if you look at a lot of people starting up, they won't tell you, but a lot of people starting up actually have some money from mommy and daddy or
Hmm.
from an uncle or from
Right,
friends, because you do need that little bit of money to start and to
right.
show a potential investor what you can do. So unfortunately, it's not fair, but that's the way it is. That's the
Mm-hmm.
way. You do need a bit of money to start up. You cannot do a startup from scratch. I would say, I don't know about I would say it's the same in the beverage industry. You need to at least get your basic things in place before,
Yeah.
even if it's your own bar or your own restaurant. Look at the numbers involved. They're huge, huge numbers, and you have to be able to have the courage of your convictions and put your, as they say, money where your mouth is, and start. What I feel is unfair sometimes is that kids don't know enough, but they're very good talkers, and they don't know enough, and they convince their parents to back them, and their poor
Oh,
parents back them, and then they fail. And they fail not
yeah.
because they're stupid or they're unintelligent. They fail because they haven't done their homework.
I think you've
This
just
is
made a wonderful point. This is very motherly, I must say, Karen. That is
I have two boys, so I know. And but I think a lot of people, you evaluate. You don't just put money behind your children because they're your children.
yeah,
You have to, but a
right.
lot of people do, because young
Yeah,
kids today talk really well. A lot of young kids talk
yeah.
well. They convince their parents, oh,
Talk
this is a
big.
great
Yeah,
idea.
absolutely.
It's fantastic. Look at this business plan my friend has made.
Yeah,
We're going to make all this money. And I'm talking from an experience of somebody that's doing this right now in our family. We're going to make all this money in a year's time, and then I'm going to give this one equity. And I said, hold on. Before you're giving XYZ equity, what are your products? What are you selling? Oh, we're doing
yes,
this. Have you tasted them? Have you given them to 200 people and see if they like
correct,
it? No, not yet.
correct.
So
Wow.
sometimes they get excited.
Right, right. So I think you've just made it a very clear, crystal clear point
And
that,
the lure,
it's
I must tell
important
you, the
to
carrot,
study.
when I
Yes.
started, the
Yeah.
carrot was success. The carrot was to do a great product, whether it was a
Yes.
restaurant or, I've worked in restaurants, I've done my own products. All of that was the carrot, to see something fantastic right at the end. Now the
Absolutely.
carrot is not that. The carrot is money. It's different.
So true. Absolutely. I mean, the carrot is money. So true, because
I'm
so
not saying it's a
many
bad thing, but
youngsters.
it's a
Yeah,
different
but
carrot.
then yeah, yeah, true. It's the position and the power that also is important. Yes, yes, sir. You want to
no, it's
pitch
it's
it?
it's to a large extent things have changed, right? So
Yeah.
also the fact that I do see it's okay for people to at a young age to kind of explore and experiment and also kind of dive into a business which is with some amount of experience. What is important is, again, to what I referring to what I said earlier on, the right information is very important,
Yeah.
and especially in the especially in the field of food and beverage, what is important is that this is you know and it's sometimes very funny when people keep saying my product is food and my product is beverage and my product is service. I'll tell you very honestly, in the food and beverage business, you cannot define a product. The day you've understood that your product cannot be defined is when you can get into this business, both with money and passion, and be successful, right? So But if you've not understood that in food and beverage business, there is no definition of a product. If you've not understood that aspect, you might have the passion, you might have the money, you might have the right backing, you will still fail. What do I mean by saying a business that does not have a product is because, people come to my bar. It's not necessary that they come to my bar only for cocktails. They come to my
Yeah.
bar because they just are feeling a little, low, and they just want to catch up a drink, right? So it's not the drink that is going to be important. Some people come to the bar because they just want to catch up catch up with a friend, uh, and have a
Yeah.
nice conversation. Somebody come to the
So,
bar because the music is something that's great in this
yeah.
particular bar, right? So
Yeah.
your product is music then. Some people come to the bar because other people who come to the bar are interesting people, right? So you kind of you
Yes.
find you're just there at the bar, sitting in one corner of the bar, looking at other people. So what I'm trying to say is it's so important to understand the nitty-gritties of the business
Yes.
and have a very clear idea, right? So you could be young, you could be somebody who is fairly young, uh, but if you have the right understanding, it is okay, right? What is
Right.
important is for the investor, like Karen ma'am said, it's the investor
Yes.
also who needs to be able to understand. It's not just the numbers. At the end of the
Correct.
day, uh, is he somebody who is doing justice to that business in
So
all
true.
the ways required, right? It's like you might go to the best bar and come across the best bartender, but if you do not know how to order a cocktail, you might end up drinking
A
probably the
soda with
shittiest cocktail
whiskey.
that,
Yeah.
that that the world could offer. So it's also equally important for the consumer to be
Sure.
able to order the right drink. It's the same thing in this business as well.
Yes.
Uh,
So true.
and yeah, I think exposure is tremendous. I think the young guys are doing wonders because I see that in the spirit business, in the alcohol business. Today
Right.
compared to where we were 25 years ago, I've seen younger people come into this business with startups. There are some
Right.
interesting booze. They've elevated the whole game of alcohol in this country with with
Mm.
with stuff which is made here and
Sure.
made a mark in the global, alcohol business, even in terms
Right.
of the bar, right? So there is no end to it. I think the right understanding is very important. Again,
Yeah.
it is a collective responsibility of each one of us, each
Yes.
stakeholder, whether it's a senior person, whether it's a junior person, whether people running the bar, I think we all need to drive it and we all
Yes.
have a collective responsibility to give it the right
Sure.
direction. Very important for the future as well as for the present, right? So, and
Right.
till the time we come up in that way, I think we will always be able to shape it up for the future, for the younger generation, for the new startups, as well as for the existing ones.
Amazing, amazing. You just nailed it. I mean, this is amazing. The way both of you were true mentors throughout this conversation, where you've shared such details when it comes to sharing, experiences about your own self, the way you started off, to the way the youth can actually think about getting into a startup also. So I think you've shared your story along with the experience that you have, which is tremendous. I think this one conversation is going to be not really enough. I would love to connect with all of you, I mean, both of you again, where we are able to communicate even more than what we just discussed right now. I think we are running out of time, but we had some amazing insights from both of you. True mentors at heart, and I'm sure that's exactly what reflected in your talk. So thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
very
Karen
much.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yangdup sir.
Thank you very
And
much.
I would
Thanks a
love
lot.
to meet you again. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
Cheers.
very much. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye for now.
Pleasure.